And as important as the drop shadow tool was, the transparency tool is also that important, and fortunately that easy to use. Your transparency tool works a lot like the drop shadow tool does. Let's just take a look at that. I'm going to select this circle, go here to the interactive tool flyout and select the transparency tool. This is a industry standard icon for transparency, and it works interactively in the same kind of way. I click and drag across my object. It also relates to the interactive fill tool, something that's very similar in function. And we have 2 points. We have our origin point and our destination point. This slider allows me to adjust the acceleration of my transparency. Where the origin point is white, we have 100% opacity, and I can position that at different places to change where the transparency begins to take effect. And at the end, we have our dark square, which is 100% transparent. And again, I can move that and I can eat away at more of the circle. As you can see, very easy to apply, very intuitive, and something that you can work with right on your objects to make very creative effects. If you drag a color into the source or target, let me just drag a 40% black into the source. Now I've started my transparency at 40%, and it's gradually moving to 100%. If you want to start it, say, at 20%, and move only to a 70% transparency, then what we're getting now is it never does get fully transparent. It only goes from 20 to 70. Very, very easy to control. A lot of tools at your disposal. If you drag a color into either one of these targets, that color gets related to the equivalence grayscale and applied as a transparency, since your transparency is only relative on a gray scale. To show you how the transparency can be used in a real illustration, I've got this window pane here. You may recognize it from the What's New document. And the glass is gray. If I select the glass object and apply a transparency, there you can see, there's a bird hiding behind our window here. And the little bird sitting outside the window, and the sunshine is now coming through as I've made that entire glass transparent. And if you don't want a gradient transparency like we have here, you can go up to the property bar and select a different type. Radial, conical, or a uniform transparency, which allows you to set the entire object's transparency to be exactly 75%, exactly 43%, and therefore you can get a uniform transparency across the entire object.